Medieval Europe was nitrogen monoxide stranger to deadly outbreaks. Medieval Europe was a regular all-you-can-eat buffet for diseases that could wipe out large chunks of the population without even trying. But none of them were quite as strange or darkly entertaining as the bizarre case of Frau Troffea and the dancing plague, which had up to 400 people moving non-stop in the streets, some literally dancing themselves to death. Today, we're looking at the unsettling epidemic that turned a city into an unwilling dance floor. But before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to Weird History and tell us in the comments which disease you'd least like to meet in a dark alley. Alright, stretch those calves, because here comes medieval Europe's most exhausting street party. And 1, 2, 3, a German housewife starts the strangest dance party. The story kicks off on a scorching July day in 1518. A German woman named Frau Troffea stepped outside her home in Strasbourg and began dancing hard. No music, no crowd, just her, in the middle of the street, grooving to a beat only she could hear. Her husband watched in baffled horror, not feeling the same mysterious compulsion. Frau kept at it all day, resting just long enough for a few uneasy hours of sleep before hitting the cobblestones again, her feet already battered and bleeding. Villagers gathered, thinking they were witnessing some eccentric performance, unaware this show could very well kill her. Then, something even stranger happened. More people started dancing. About 30 joined her, as if the world's worst flash mob had just been born. Hundreds caught up in the Strasbourg dance fever. It didn't stop at 30. The number swelled, with as many as 400 people reportedly dancing uncontrollably in the streets of Strasbourg. The city council had no idea how to deal with it. Turns out, there's no section in crisis management that covers spontaneous street rave that kills people. What was clear was that none of the dancers were enjoying themselves. They were in agony, begging for relief. By midsummer, the death toll climbed to about 15 people a day, mostly from exhaustion, dehydration, or heart failure. It wasn't exactly the kind of summer festival anyone wanted to attend. Doctors blame overheated blood. Desperate, the city council called in local physicians to figure out what was going on. After dismissing astrology and supernatural causes, the doctors landed on a diagnosis: overheated blood. The idea was that excessive heat in the body disrupted the balance of humors, leading to madness. The usual medieval cure for hot blood was, naturally, bloodletting. But given the patient's non-stop movement, this wasn't exactly practical. So, in what might be the most counterintuitive medical advice ever, the doctors prescribed more dancing. The city hired musicians to keep the patients moving, hoping they'd tire themselves out. Shockingly, this only made things worse. The festive approach blows up in their faces as some dancers began to slow from sheer exhaustion. Musicians didn't switch to slower tunes, they cranked up the tempo. This only made the crowd move faster, and the spectacle drew in onlookers who thought it was some sort of celebration, adding more uninfected dancers to the chaos. Realizing they'd made a huge mistake, officials changed tactics. If it wasn't a medical issue, it had to be a curse, a divine punishment for the city's sins. Strasbourg goes moral police mode. Authorities started cracking down on vice. Gambling houses shut down. Brothels closed. Anyone with a loose reputation was thrown out of the city. They even offered the church a massive candle as a peace offering to the saints, though it didn't work. Finally, they banned dancing altogether, issuing hefty fines for anyone caught moving rhythmically in public. Drums were singled out as dangerous instruments, believed to stir up the mania. String music for weddings was allowed, but no percussion. Despite all of this, the dancing continued. This wasn't the first time Europe danced itself to death. In 1374, the city of Aachen experienced its own outbreak. There, people joined hands and danced in circles for hours until collapsing from exhaustion. Officials at the time blamed demonic possession, bringing in priests to douse the dancers in holy water while chanting prayers. And, predictably, the blame somehow landed on women. Paracelsus points the finger in 1526. Years after Strasbourg's outbreak ended, physician Paracelsus investigated the case. He decided forced dancing could be a physical reflex, triggered by certain bodily conditions. Then, in a very 16th century twist, he concluded the whole thing started because Frau Troffea wanted to avoid housework. He imagined her husband asking her to do something, and her responding by dancing until she nearly died. A bit of a stretch, even for the Renaissance. Turning to Saint Vitus for help as desperation grew, Strasbourg turned to Saint Vitus, a martyr said to heal trembling limbs. Legend had it he survived boiling tar and a lion attack. So why not a plague of endless dancing? The city gathered the afflicted, loaded them into wagons, and took them to his shrine. There, priests blessed them, gave them small crosses, and fitted them with red shoes anointed in holy oil. Remarkably, this seemed to break the compulsion. The epidemic faded, and the event became known as St. Vitus's dance, either because he cured it or caused it. What really happened? Modern theories vary. Some suggest contaminated grain caused convulsions, though that doesn't explain the coordinated movement. Others think epilepsy or another neurological condition might be to blame, but those aren't contagious. A heretical cult theory also exists, though it's hard to imagine a group choosing to party in obvious agony until they died. The most likely explanation: mass hysteria. A city primed for panic. By 1518, Strasbourg had endured multiple famines, soaring food prices, outbreaks of smallpox and leprosy, and hundreds of new orphans. Fear and superstition were rampant. Many believed an unseen force could seize control of their bodies under such extreme stress. It's no surprise the city fell victim to a contagious psychological outbreak, and in the end, it took a shrine visit and a pair of blessed red shoes to break the spell.